semuanyaa! Or at least that's what my wife normally says, I think. I don't speak Bahasa Indonesia. No bueno Bahasa Indonesia. But anyways, we had a recent subscriber comment asking if I could only have one gun, what would it be? And then my wife responded that, you know, basically I love all guns. The only guns I don't like are the ones that are not reliable. So I do not like guns that don't consistently shoot. I don't like guns that jam regularly. I don't like guns that I can't trust with my life. Those are the guns I don't like. So if there's an unreasonable amount of issues with a firearm, I don't want it. I want to get rid of it. If I get a gun and it's jamming way more than it should, it's having light striker, primer striking way more than it should, if it's jamming, if the slide locks open way more than it should, I get rid of it. I don't want it. So my line of thought is every gun is a good gun as long as it works. So if the gun works correctly, within reason, I mean, you're going to have malfunctions with just about every gun that you purchase. If you run thousands of rounds through it and you don't clean it and you don't take care of it. But any gun that is regularly maintained and taken care of shouldn't have major issues constantly, right? So my wife sort of responded with, you know, he likes all guns, he can't choose, which is what I told her. And then I told her to just say that I don't like guns that aren't reliable. Subscriber then commented, you know, well, what if you could only have 3 guns? So I started thinking about it. There are a number of things that you would have to try to figure out, right? Like if you had a gun, it's going to have to provide for multiple categories. If you only have one gun, it has to be able to do multiple things in different categories. And if you only had 3 guns, that's a little bit easier. I'm of the line of thought that you're going to have to pick what is most important to you when you pick only one gun, if you could only have one gun. So if you're really, really into hunting and you really think that you need to have a gun to get food, then you're going to have a drastically different pick and firearm than a person who lives in a city and is very concerned about safety, right? So for me personally, I've always put a high priority on concealability, right? So if I was going to only have one firearm, it would be something like this Shadow Systems MR920. This is basically a Glock 19 clone. You can take a Glock 19, you can take any Glock 19 part straight out of the box, and you could swap it with a part on this gun. It is an exact clone, almost. The biggest difference is that this gun, all of the parts that are in this gun are made in the United States. So it's 100% American made, and most of the parts are better quality than Glock. So basically it's an American Glock with upgraded features, right? So if I could only have one gun, it would be something like this. And there's a couple of reasons why, right? So it comes with standard factory magazines. And like I said, this is interchangeable with a Glock 19. I would be just as happy with a Glock 19 if I could only have one gun. And again, the Glock 19 as well as this, they take the exact same mags, and they are 15 round magazines from the factory, which is a decent amount to have. The Glock 17 will take 17 round magazines from the factory. I like the Glock 19 because it's a little bit easier to conceal versus the Glock 17. a little bit easier. But it's just a good gun. It's easy to shoot. It's easy to use. It's got good features, good sights. It's durable. And like I said, to me, concealability is a huge factor. If I needed to, I could shoot a deer with this. It's not ideal. I wouldn't go out to hunt a deer with this gun. But if a deer came across my path within 25 yards or less, I might be able to take it with this gun. But most importantly, this is a gun that I could conceal in an environment where I didn't want other people to know that I had a firearm. I am the type of person who subscribes to the doctrine of not necessarily open carrying a firearm. I don't want to seem like a threat to other people. I just want to talk softly and carry a big stick. That's an old American expression, right? It means don't yell, don't scream, don't cause problems, but have a big stick to smack a problem if it pops up. So yeah, basically, if I could only have one gun, it would probably be a Glock 19, an MR920, or another reasonable substitution for that. This is a Taurus G3C. I really, really like this gun. This is not an expensive gun. I think in the United States you can still get this for around $300, whereas this is probably closer to $800 or $900. And then if you were going to get a Glock 19, it would kind of be in the middle of these at around $500 to $600. This comes with a standard 17-round magazine. That's what it comes with out of the box. And I believe it came with 2 or 3 magazines out of the box. It shoots good, it's reliable. I've never had any issues with it or any other firearms that I've owned in the Taurus G series. So I've owned a G2C, I've owned a G3C, and I've owned a Taurus G3, which is what this is. And it basically is about almost the exact same size on most dimensions. It's got a little bit longer of a grip with that magazine sticking out a little bit. But for the most part, it's fairly similar in size to the MR920 or the Glock 19, except it's much cheaper. So it's kind of weird. I have the really expensive example of a Glock 19, and then I kind of have a Glock 19 clone that's the cheap example, and I don't have the actual Glock 19 for some reason. But either way, I like both of these guns. If I didn't have the money to buy this, I would be more than happy to carry this. The only thing that I've noticed that is less favorable about the G3 is that, you know, when I shoot these on paper at targets, a lot of the times my groupings will be slightly wider with this, right? So I'll have a tighter grouping of where the rounds hit when I shoot this than I will with this, but the difference is negligible. And other than that, in a lot of ways, this is just as good as this, especially if you can't afford this. Now, the other thing to consider about the Glock 19 and the MR920 that isn't necessarily as readily available for the G3 is that these 33-round magazines, it's very easy to find 30-round and 33-round magazines for the Glock 19 and the MR920. So you put that in there, and then you've got a lot of bullets, right? Now, one thing that always comes up in the American firearms community when you start talking about what if you only had one gun is SHTF, right? So that's this American concept. It means shit hits the fan. So if somebody threw a bunch of shit into a fan, it's going to get everywhere and it's going to be terrible, right? What it kind of means is like society falls apart. There's a civil war. The communists invade. These types of things, like where everything just falls apart. There's an EMP and none of the electronics work, right? That's one sort of topic that always seems to come up when you start talking about But what if you could only have one gun? Or what if you could only have 3 guns? Or what if you could only have 5 guns? Right? What if it had to last you for the rest of your life? And then would it work for every situation? Could you hunt with it? Could you survive the apocalypse with it? Right? And to me, if I could only have one gun, I think that this would probably be my choice. Okay, so moving on to the second question. If I could only have 3 guns, this would probably surprise a lot of people, but I completely throw out the Glock 19, the MR 920, the G3, right? I just get rid of it. Because the G3, the Glock 19, the MR 920, they are great pistols for self-defense. They are great pistols for shooting a lot of bullets very quickly. But like I said before, I do put a high priority on being able to conceal a firearm. I like to appear to be non-threatening while having the ability to act if I need to, right? So I throw out the Glock 19 type weapon for the Ruger LCP Max in the event that I could only have 3 guns. And the reason for that is how small the Ruger LCP Max is with the capacity that it carries. It comes out of the box with a factory 10-round magazine, and 12-round magazines are available. In my opinion, the micro pistol market was revolutionized by this firearm. The reason that I say that this revolutionized the micro pistol market is because the Ruger LCP Max has a 10-round capacity out of the box, and they have 12-round magazines readily available. Prior to this firearm, the vast majority of 380 ACP micro pistols on the market were 6-round capacity. So you've basically doubled your capacity, getting up to where you are only 3 rounds short of a Glock 19 with its standard factory magazine, which is very good for a pistol this size. 380 ACP is not the best cartridge in the world for every situation, but for a pocket pistol, it's one of the best rounds that you can get. It's just very reliable. I've bought a lot of pocket pistols. I've probably bought 6 or 7 different guns at about this size in 380 ACP, and determined that they were not reliable and got rid of them. This gun has not disappointed me, and I've owned it for about a year, maybe more. It's got a good trigger. It's got great sights for a micro pistol. It's very easy to shoot. I have had friends and other people that I know shoot this, and they think that the recoil is a little much for a gun this size, but it doesn't bother me at all. My wife can shoot it relatively easily. My wife stole this gun from me. This is still my gun, but my wife decided that because it was my favorite gun and it was such a nice gun, that she gets to carry it all the time, believe it or not. And I plan to buy another one very soon, so that we have 2, one for her and one for me, because she likes it so much and because it's so easy to carry. It's so light, it has a very good magazine capacity, and it's really good to shoot, right? It's very nice to shoot. And as far as concealability, like, this is just my regular old pocket, and I go to Walmart, right? I just go where I'm going, and it's not heavy, it's not bulky, and it has such a high magazine capacity for the size of firearm that it is. So something like this would probably be my top choice for a pistol if I could only own 3 guns. And the only reason I would go with this one over the Glock 19 if I could only own 3 guns is because how concealable it is. And I'm compensating for the fact that this is not a very good combat gun, but it's definitely a very good self-defense gun. Because of its concealability, because of that element of surprise, if you had an attacker and you needed to defend yourself, you could get this out quickly and you could use it to defend yourself. And like I said, the big reason that I throw out the Glock 19 if I could only have 3 guns is because I have other guns in that circumstance that could compensate for other situations that this gun would not necessarily handle very well, right? So the next gun is our AR-15, and this is actually my wife's AR-15. This is commonly referred to as the American rifle. Americans love these. Every gun enthusiast in the United States has 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of these. We have 2 of them. My wife has one and I have one. This happens to be hers, right? Has a pop-up sight. Has just a regular, normal AR-15 charging handle. Locks open on an empty mag. Has a mag release, a forward assist, dust cover, standard 30-round magazines. Pretty standard with pretty much all AR-15s. Adjustable stock. The normal peep sights. This is a fantastic weapon. So like I said before, what is the worst case scenario? And if it was the worst case scenario, would your 3 guns or your 1 gun be able to get you through that scenario, right? And the AR-15, arguably, if you could only have 1 gun, you could make some very, very good arguments for this being your 1 gun. Like I said, the only reason I didn't pick a rifle or a shotgun is because I put a high priority and a high value on concealability if I only had 1 firearm. But you could reasonably argue that this is a good choice. It does have a small bullet, not much larger in diameter than a .22 long rifle, but it has a lot of gunpowder behind it and a lot of velocity. So you can take game with this. It probably would not be humane to take things like deer with this, or moose, or other larger game. You would have to have very good shot placement for it to be a humane kill in a hunting situation. But in an emergency situation, you're not thinking about like, oh, what is the most humane way to hunt? You're thinking about like, I need to get food, right? And the worst case scenario is you hit the deer wrong with this type of gun and it runs away and you don't get it. Best case scenario, you hit them with this and then you get to eat that night in an emergency situation. You can shoot this gun very fast. It's very accurate. It's very reliable. And just like the Glock 19, there are a lot of parts. Anything you can think of that you want to do to an AR-15 in the United States, you can find parts and things to swap in and out. You can put different lowers, uppers on it. You can swap out barrels. You can take this 5.56 firearm and you could turn it into a 7.62x39 by putting a different upper on it and using a different magazine. You could turn it into a .22 long rifle if you wanted to. It's just a very versatile, very efficient, very effective rifle for combat situations, for self-defense, and even for hunting, especially if you're hunting smaller game like coyote or rabbit or bird or something like that. That's a very good rifle. Yeah, it's just, I love it. It's beautiful. All right. So for our third choice, in the instance that I could only have 3 guns, I would be looking at a longer barrel 12 gauge shotgun. It doesn't shoot as fast as the AR-15. It's not as concealable as the Glock 19 or the LCP Max, but it is just versatile as hell, right? Depending on what ammunition you put in this firearm, you can take any large game in North America with this gun. They make slugs for it, which are basically just a big, huge lead projectile being shot out of this barrel with a lot of gunpowder behind it and a lot of force. They make buckshot for it, which is like larger bullets, you know, closer to kind of like shooting 9 or 13 or 15, 22 rounds all at once out of the same barrel, hitting the same target all at once, which can be devastating on a target. And then they have bird shot, which will literally allow you to shoot a bird out of mid-flight, out of the air, so that you can eat it, right? So for hunting, this is a very versatile weapon. The one kind of area that it lacks in, that it's sort of deficient, while it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of guns, because it can do everything. Its one issue is it's not the best gun for any situation, right? So if I could only have one gun, it wouldn't be this gun, because it is not the best gun for any one thing. It just happens to be the gun that is okay at doing a lot of things, which makes it a utilitarian dream, right? It's great for self-defense. It's great for hunting. It's great for, protecting your property. You could even blow a door handle off of a door if you were trying to get into a building, if you had buckshot in it. It's just a great firearm. Like I said, if you had a hunting rifle with a scope and something like 30-06 or 8mm Mauser or what's another one of the popular hunting rounds? It escapes me right now, but it would be more effective to hunt with those rifles at longer distances. But if you are good with this type of firearm, inside of 100 yards, you should be able to take game. And it is your optimal weapon for bird. And it's very efficient for self-defense with buckshot. So guys, that is my if I could only have one gun and if I could only have 3 guns video. Please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you really like this content, please share with others that might be interested in what we're doing, so we can get more subscribers and hopefully continue to grow this channel and maybe get to the point where we can continue to create more and better content for you guys, the viewer. We greatly appreciate you, and thank you for all of your views, all of your likes, all of your comments, and all of your subscriptions. Have a great day, have a great night. We love you all. Terima kasih!